trust is, I think, integral to your success because, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to share the gospel, and to do that through false pretenses, especially through like an AI chatbot that you think is real, is like, oh, well, can I meet the person that led me to Jesus? And it's like, dog, that was a chip.
Welcome to the Digital Ministry Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and the Digital Ministry Podcast is brought to you by Media Impact International. And we're doing a in-studio session today with my special guest, Aiden Runyon. And for those of you longtime listeners who may say to yourselves, Runyon, I've heard that name before. Well, yes, that's my name. And this is my son, Aiden. So Aiden is graduating high school tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You made it.
Thank you.
You made it. Was it a good experience?
Yeah. It's rapidly changing.
So what's next?
I'm going to go study finance down in Indiana at the same school that this guy went to.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. And shout out to Taylor University. So that'll be good to have a chance to get back to campus a little more regularly. But the dinner table conversation at our house is always fun and exciting. We try to have dinner every night. I've got a hard out at the office. I got to be home at 6:15 for dinner. And we've done pretty good at that, I think. It's been, everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, sports and work and all kinds of things, but try to do that pretty regularly. And then just like catch up on the day. And our conversation ranges from what's new in technology, what's new in AI. For a long time, this is I think a great tip, and I don't remember where I picked it up, but for years, like since the kids were in middle school, I've paid them $100 for every business book that they read. And so Ethan is reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad right now.
Yeah.
You've read that as well, I think. What are some of the books that you read that you got paid for?
I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Oh man, I can't remember. The book like staged like a novel revolving around like 5 different business.
Ideal Team Player.
Yeah. I've read several.
There's been a lot. Did you do The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Horowitz?
I think so. Yeah, that's
a good one. I like that one too. Lean Startup.
Yeah, that one was fascinating.
Some of it, it'll take shape as you start to do, more stuff once you get out of school. But those are great books. But we talk about business stuff. We talk about advancements in AI. And I know we've had a lot of conversations about AI on this podcast. And just as, I'll share with Aiden, and he knows a lot of the guests that have been on here. We've had conversations with those guys whenever they visit or whatever. Aiden always has a unique insight from a Gen Z perspective. We talk about like use of technology and, how do we manage phones and all that kind of stuff, all those good family things. But I learn a lot from you about just kind of how you and your friends are, one, using AI, school policies around AI, what you're finding is possible, what you're seeing other people are doing. And so I thought it'd be fun to just have this conversation, and we'll bring kind of another voice into that realm. A lot of the ministry leaders that I interact with are my age or older often. And I love it when young people join these teams and they bring fresh ideas. One of my big pet peeves, and this is kind of maybe a warning for any ministry leaders listening to this, but I think I've been successful in my career. I think so. I'm not sure how you define success. I've had a lot of different experiences, but they've always come through somebody ahead of me, opening up a door, giving me an opportunity, probably giving me more than I was certainly qualified to handle. But there's a healthy amount of like, just figure it out that's kind of in my DNA, and maybe we'll see if I think that's passed along to you boys as well. But the fast yes, like, yeah, I can do that. Knowing that it's like, I'm going to bet on myself, I can go figure it out, has been really good throughout my career. It's led to a lot of, opportunities. And so for the ministry leaders listening, Like if you've got somebody who's excited about your mission that's on your team, let them run. Just let them run. Like, yes, they're going to make mistakes. I made tons of mistakes, but now, at my age, now I'm getting phone calls from people I just had a call this week with a major US ministry. And they were like, we just want to have a chat for an hour and hear kind of what you're seeing and what you're doing. And it only came from exploration from other leaders like Walt Wilson, like Lord Edmiston, like David Benware and others that I've worked with, giving me an opportunity to just figure it out. Like I said, yes, I'll figure it out. Let me run with it. And they said, okay. So that's a tip from me to you to let people on your team just explore these tools and go. And that's what I'm hopeful for you as well. Like people don't give you permission, and you don't always need permission. Just go figure it out and then bring results back to the table. And as long as the vision is clear, the outcomes have been clarified that your organization or your business is working toward, and kind of the guidelines are set and established, then you can run as fast as you want. I always say the guidelines are like the ditches on a highway, and then just drive the car as fast as you can. So that's what I've tried to do with you guys, like growing up in our house around some of these subjects. So I'm excited to hear kind of your thoughts on this and what you've learned. To get into it, I want to say that I've heard some ministry leaders recently say like the AI age is coming. I would say it's been here for a long time.
I would concur.
So I think, if you go do some research on AI, we've recently come out of an AI winter is what some of the experts are saying. Like it was these concepts were, and these programs were originally developed like as far back as the 70s
and implemented in the 90s in small stage LLMs. Like,
yeah.
So like the matrical math behind like assigning vectors to like semantics and words has been around for a long time. That theoretical math is not new.
Yeah, like trying to understand natural language.
Yeah.
And the AI winter refers to this gap in time from like the 90s to today where we didn't get any like useful or meaningful or value adding use cases that were deployable at scale. But that's all changed recently with these LLMs that are coming out, and like ChatGPT is the big one that, I think most people are familiar with, maybe is like the gateway drug for AI.
Right.
But I guess my point is it's already here, which is why kind of we're dedicating so much time to this, because this is the number one question at MII that people are coming in with is like, well, what are you doing for the use of AI and how should we be using it? And the question, how should we be using it, is always an interesting one because it requires so much setup and background on, well, what are you trying to do? Is my first question. But let me ask you, Aiden, what's the environment like at school right now with concerning AI?
Considerably more hostile than I think most people would think. There's a very clear divide between the minority of administration who believe that AI is beneficial and that it can, like, that there can be useful like knowledge gleaned from a faster, more efficient search process. And then probably the majority, I would say, that are against the use of AI in school. I was speaking to a teacher at my high school that was like, I think we're going back to just like blue book, like classical education, like handwritten essays for tests and textbooks. And I was like,
to get around AI then.
Yeah. And I was like, that's interesting. I completely disagree, but
why?
I don't think that the education system either A has the like liquid capital to completely switch away from computers and computerized learning, especially after organizations like College Board just went fully digital for the first time this year on testing. I don't think that makes any sense. And there's a lot of software coming out to secure online education. I took several AP tests this year on computers, and I just don't see us going back to handwritten essays after them putting so much effort over the last couple of years into making that switch. And it's less efficient, and it costs more to pay someone to stay after school to grade handwritten essays than it does to pay somebody to either, I mean, just like the ease of reading a font, but then also like from a teacher's perspective, you can create a program with some of these artificial intelligence tools to effectively grade your papers better and more evenly and fairly than you could. I don't understand. I think it's a
Huh.
win-win scenario to be using artificial intelligence in school. And I don't know why there's so much like fear around it. I would assume it's loss of tradition, and like it's just the field is completely different from whenever some of my teachers entered it 5 years ago. Like,
So I've had this conversation with some folks my age. When we learned math, this is more like an elementary school example, but it's like, you can't use a calculator. You're not going to be walking around with a calculator in your pocket all the time. Well, that's not true today.
Right.
Everybody has a calculator in their pocket on their phone. So like technology tends to disrupt, but isn't it important to still learn? You still need to learn like how to write.
I would say that
How to put an essay together.
the amount of times that I write an essay is a lot more than the amount of times that I use long division on a daily basis. Like,
sure, but if you're just outsourcing your essay creation to AI, you don't really know how to structure thoughts. Here's my hypothesis, here's my supporting evidence, here's my conclusion, like basic writing format. Or you think they're afraid of losing that?
I believe so. I'll be completely honest. I reached a weird point this year where I had to write an essay that I was actually passionate about. And the majority of essays that I have, I write at least partially or completely, depending on the how much they matter. So this essay I really cared about. I really wanted to write well, and I wanted it to be me. I wanted it to sound like I had in my head. And I hit this weird roadblock where I was like, oh, oh, I haven't written an essay in 9 months, and it's hard. It's like all of a sudden I'm out of practice, and it's really hard. It's like running for the first time in a year. It like
Like your brain wasn't
it just
worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I was not only was like my typing slower, but my grammatical like scrutiny was much worse. My word choice was horrible. Like the vocabulary that usually like populates my essays was very, very bad. And I ended up getting a worse grade on it. And so that I think is like a dangerous place to let yourself get to as a student, to be dependent on AI.
I'd say as a professional too.
Yeah,
Like
I believe so.
like especially in like digital marketing, you have to write your own ad copy. I think. Like you can't, if you outsource that to AI for everything and you forget how to, create a compelling hook. There's a lot of groupthink that I see that is in the output of AI right now. It's like everything sounds like everything else. And I think we see this in social media too. Like the feed is all these different accounts, but they're all the same thing. Yeah.
You know what the dead internet theory is?
No.
The dead internet theory is that the sample size of people interacting and producing content on social media predominantly, but also like forums like Reddit. And I do believe this in regards to Reddit, because if you've ever been on Reddit, there's some slop on there. And most of it, I'm like, this, nobody sat down to make this, but I'm sure some of it actually is organically produced. It's the theory that the internet is more automated than we currently believe. Like you're saying, that we're not coming out of a AI winter, that it's already like it's been a like an AI like period of expansion at a rapid rate for a long time, and we're just now realizing it, and that
Like it's all bot
it's all
created.
bots. Yeah, the theory is that like it's all bots. And I saw a meme about this yesterday. It was in World War II. There was a diagram of a plane that planes were returning from bombing runs, and they were looking at all the bullet holes in this plane, and they were like, well, we need to reinforce these spots that are getting lit up with these bullet holes, because like it's compromising the structural integrity of the plane. And somebody sat down and was like, well, hold on. No, these are the planes that are making it back. We need to reinforce the areas that aren't getting hit with bullet holes, because clearly these aren't critical areas. They're not like integral to the flight. And it was that diagram over somebody saying, Well, man, I'm really glad that I've been seeing less AI generated content on the internet lately. And it's like the realization then is like, oh, am I? Or am I just getting worse at seeing it?
How interesting.
And has it been here the whole time?
I think there's an assumption that I make that probably a younger generation is more digitally native. That's not an assumption. That's true. More digitally native. And so more like better equipped to recognize spam, and fakes and deep fakes and all this stuff. Like, I think that might have been true for a while. Is that true today?
Yeah, I believe so. I would say a good example of it is
Because we share stuff all the time, like on Instagram or whatever, funny videos, and you're like, oh, that one's fake.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I got fooled. I thought it was real.
Well, I see a lot of there's like this new thing on Instagram where people will make an AI bot of like a very attractive woman and try to garner like attention because you can make money off of views.
There's a lot of that happening.
And I like scroll through it and it's like 65-year-old men from top to bottom, like 950 comments are just like oogling this woman, and I'm like, this is obviously fake. I'm like, are you seriously? Like,
Are the comments fake too, though, you think?
that's the other thing is like you can buy bots, you can buy click farms in India now. They have like phone like and like
They've had that for a long time.
they've had that for a long that's not new, but
But you can like set up the whole system and then just scrape dollars off of Instagram or Facebook.
yeah, if the operation cost of running the server room that runs that bot is lower than the amount of money that you're making per view and per comment on Instagram, and if you like you get certain cents or like fractions of a cent per like, per comment, per share. I think a share and a follow are like the highest,
Mm-hmm.
and it like tracks and traces engagement through the individual reel on Instagram. I think there's like a legitimate business model that's probably happening now of people running both sides of interactions on Instagram.
There you go. There's a good like fundraising tip
Yeah.
for all of you. So interesting. So let's talk about, you were telling me a little bit about VO3, which just came out.
Yeah.
Speaking of video creation.
Yeah, Google just released their new. It's like Sora for Google. It's a video creation model, and it's a little scary. It doesn't look like a deep fake. The only intelligible sign that it's not real, in my opinion, or that it's not just like a lower quality video, is mouth tracing and teeth structure, like dental structure in people. But it's phenomenal.
So what do you mean? Like if it's perfect teeth, then it tips its hand, or
No, that so AI has a really hard time of consistent frame by frame production because it's really hard for it to like Nvidia released chips that like synthesize frames for video games.
mm-hmm.
But what the issue that they ran into there is that like it's really hard to predict the next frame accurately because you don't really know. But also like it's hard to make a video where you're making like assumptions, like you're making the next best guess, and then for that to be consistent throughout the entire video. I think that's the problem that AI runs into a lot. That's why you see the videos of like it starts with like a minion and then it turns into like an egg and it just looks like you're having a stroke on screen. It's because it's making the closest jump over and over again to make a coherent video. And while the video is aesthetically and visually pleasing or visually horrifying and consistently, and it's all like one consistent video, it doesn't make any sense because it's not real. Like it's not something that would actually exist in real life, and that happens still. It's really hard even with as large of a database as probably just open sourcing social media, which I think is what Google's been doing, to make a human face speak and like express emotions and be emotive accurately.
It's interesting, the video game tie-in, because I think a lot of this stuff is created like in the video game space first, and then probably is refined and matures to other applications.
I think it was the 5070 or the 5090 they dropped and were like, or maybe it was the 5030. It was their low model chip.
NVIDIA.
Had the same specs as their last year's top model chip, which is not ever the case, really. And like it was like as good or better than. And but what they were doing is like thread pace. They were comparing like chip speed and frame production, and like at what resolution can it run what frames. But a common scrutiny on the internet was that they're not real frames. Like half of your frames are AI synthesized, like predicted frames.
But in a video game, aren't they all synthesized?
They're synthesized, but
Or are they using? I guess they're using actors and models, right?
right.
As like the baseline. So they're actually filming, and then
Like for a story game?
yeah, like Call of Duty or whatever. When you've got the general giving you the mission,
Right.
is that an actor or is it all fake? Or do you know?
Well, recently there was Bethesda did this a lot where they would do just a very convincing deep fake. Ubisoft released Far Cry 5, and it's the guy from Breaking Bad. The guy who runs Los Pollos Hermanos is the actor. They just deep faked his face and put it onto the bad guy so that you could have a convincing, emotive, and like personable enemy in the game.
Interesting.
And then your character is likely also an actor, lesser known.
He got paid for that, right?
Yeah.
The likeness.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Matt Damon did a whole bunch of them with Bethesda for a while. I saw him in a couple games. The guy from Jack Reacher did Wolfenstein, the remake that Bethesda did.
That's way back.
Yeah. Oh well, they made like a story game. It's like an action shooter. It's not very good, but
Neither was the original.
right, right.
Left, right, space bar.
Yeah.
That was all it was. Interesting. So, but this is bleeding over into social media too, so I think the question for ministries is whenever you are developing like video content, if you're using AI and you want like a face, I can see where some people would be like, look, we can just create a fake persona to deliver our message, but ethically, I'm curious about what you think about that. Like, is it, if you're trying to like start a relationship, but you begin it on like false pretenses, is that
Yeah.
sounds bad the way I phrased it?
Yeah, it does. I would say that that's bad, especially from a marketing standpoint. If you're going to promote a message, I don't know many companies or ministries for that matter that are okay with their message being produced disingenuously, even if like
Because you're trying to build trust from the very first touch point.
exactly, especially in a field like ministry. Trust is, I think, integral to your success because, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to share the gospel, and to do that through false pretenses, especially through like an AI chatbot that you think is real, is like, oh, well, can I meet the person that led me to Jesus? And it's like, dog, that was a chip. It's like, oh, that's heavy.
Interesting. So what about now for like non-human on screen or like, non-person video? I think it's a tremendous tool. Like you can create, content over and over and over, all kinds of different iterations. I think one of the things that a lot of marketing teams get overloaded with is you have to constantly be refreshing your content in order to keep engagement up on these platforms. And so using AI to create those iterations of like a core message, I think is really good. But then I would go back to your earlier comment about you got to work out your brain,
Yeah.
You got to make sure that your message is still the right message and think around, some of those, like those awareness touch points. Like, how do I really want to begin an engagement with somebody? So didn't you tell me one of your teachers flagged one of your essays? You wrote it completely, 100% authored, but you got bad marks because they thought it was AI generated?
Yeah, I wrote an essay organically. Like, I actually did write the essay, and my teacher calls me into his room and he's like, "Did you check Power School?" And I was like, "No."
What's Power School?
It's our grading software. So it's like you can see the grade book for all of your classes, but not for everybody else, just for you.
Okay, yeah.
And like you can look at your grade history and everything, and it has all your school forms on it and whatnot. And he's like, "Did you check Power School?" And I was like, No, I haven't yet." And he's like, I gave you a 10% on your essay. And I was like, whoa, why? And he was like, well, because you used ChatGPT. And I was like, no, I didn't use it. And he was like, I don't believe you. And like, I mean, we went through this like whole back and forth, and we ended up having to go to the assistant principal and like,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a whole, yeah. Well, I mean,
as involved with that whole family dinner conversation that I started with, as involved as I may sound, like you guys manage your own school stuff. Like I don't.
Yeah.
This is news to me. I didn't know this happened.
Well, I didn't do anything wrong, you know. Like,
so what happened?
So we went into the assistant principal's office, and he's like, Aiden, did you write this essay with AI? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, then why does like your version history look like this and stuff? And I was like, and he was like, and I put it into Quillbot, and it gave me an 89% AI rating. And I was like, well, where'd the 11% go? Like, it's is it a guarantee that I used AI? And I was like, because you're like,
was it non-original? Because that's looking for originality, and it's referencing it against other stuff.
Yeah, it analyzes word patterns analyzes like the most average coherency of sentences in the English language. So whenever you assign the math behind AI, you assign a vector to the semantics of each word. So like the words king and queen would have similar semantics, and so their vectors would be in a similar direction. And so it's looking for an essay whose words are like where like all the vectors line up more than not. That's a very like simple way of explaining like complex matrical math. But
so it was just flagged as like having the characteristics of being AI created or something.
It was like one of the most efficient ways to express the sentiment of the paper given the words allotted and like given like the flow of the sentences. It sounded like ChatGPT.
So what happened? What was the outcome?
She was like, well, I mean, you can't prove that he used AI, and he says he didn't. And he was like, well, I guess I believe you. And so it was fine. It was whatever. But like, it's
are you going to get your diploma tomorrow?
No, we have to wait a week.
Yeah, but they're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So now that's all settled and done. Now you can come out with the truth. Like, did you use AI?
No, I didn't. I didn't use it.
Okay.
No. He was like, no, but this website I used says that you did. And I'm like, that's AI. I was like, that's an artificial intelligence analyzing that. It's doing complex math to tell you whether or not it did. And I was like, it's not 100% accurate. Again, like, where is the 11%? Did I write 11% of my essay and then rest was AI?
You went like full trial mode on this, like beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Well, I mean, academic integrity is taken seriously these days, and AI is considered cheating by the current like guidelines of at least the school district that I go to. So.
Do you have any teachers that allow you to use AI?
Yeah.
What, like, for what purpose?
I had an AP government mock election, and I ran for president, and so they like give you like 15 different papers that you have to write, and nobody in the class reads all the papers that the candidates write or whatever. But he was like, at the beginning of the year, had been like, if you use AI and it's like, and it's real and it's like peer reviewed sites and whatnot, like, and it's like accurate information and it's just making it more efficient, yeah, I'm okay with that. And which is interesting because that was Mr. Monroe, name drop, favorite gov teacher. He was the same guy that was saying, I think we're going back to like just handwritten essays.
Well, I can see his point. We got to go back and teach handwriting first, though.
Right.
But he was open to it.
He was open to it, and so I wrote like probably 98% of the content in that class using AI. And I mean, my ChatGPT account is trained to the tone of my voice, like given like past essays that I've written and stuff. So it sounds like me.
Do you use projects in ChatGPT?
I don't have Pro.
Oh, okay. This is a pro tip. Like, if you're using AI in your team, buy the Pro version. And you can create projects and you can put your own source material in there and it will learn your own voice. And then you can have the project committed to memory so that when you write stuff in the future, it's referencing past work It's a really powerful way to gain some efficiencies. So think as we wrap up here in the next couple minutes, what are you looking at? I'm interested in your thoughts on you're an incoming freshman into college. You're spending a bunch of money to go to school and get a degree over the next 4 years. There's this big question in the public about like, what would you even go to school for? Like, what jobs aren't going to be outsourced by AI in the future or, eradicated? Like, what are you looking at and thinking about as you start your college career?
Well, firstly, on the national level, the House of Representatives did just advance a 10-year ban on state AI regulations in an effort to like kind of like fertilize the field for growth in AI production and the development of that technology. So
I didn't hear about this. 10 years?
yeah, the states can't
That's an eternity in like the technology world.
well, doesn't isn't it like 200% growth in chip capacity and like speed every 18 months is like the
Moore's
like
law.
yeah,
Mhm.
rule yeah. It's a ridiculously long amount of time to allot for AI development.
Sorry, I derailed you, but so what do you think about that? Like, what's that mean for you?
I think that you mean in terms of like college?
College or future career or, I mean, 10 years, a 10-year ban on AI regulations. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So
At the state level.
at the state level. So the federal government can still pass regulations surrounding AI, but individual states cannot. That's also probably pushing compliance with our policy on Chinese chip production. But
Is that even legal? Like, that didn't get signed into law yet, did it?
no, probably not. I don't know.
I don't know if the federal government can tell a state what they can and can't do.
Right. It says that the U.S. House advances a proposal to impose a 10-year moratorium on state-level AI regulations, aiming to create a unified federal framework for AI governance. Yeah, it's not signed into law yet, but that's the direction that the federal government is leaning.
For the purpose of encouraging AI exploration and advancement.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think that in the context of college, it's incredibly important to seek courses and universities that have a technologically progressive view of the way that business and I mean any area of life will be affected by artificial intelligence. Not in like a like, oh, we're gonna have flying cars kind of lens, but like efficiency is like intensely maximized by artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
You can likely have half of your staff in. I mean, that's what they did in Twitter. Like I think
Yeah.
they're like you can run so much more efficiently, especially in like a digital environment, utilizing AI at numerous times the speed of human involvement.
And I think that's the big advantage for anybody listening to this on your team. And those are the obvious use cases right now. It's like, where can we maximize human capital? Give them AI tools, let them do some of the jobs a lot faster, but keep like the main core things, still the main core things that are implemented and conceived by real life, living, breathing humans.
Right. Because there are still people out there who will catch it every time and be like, you didn't make that.
Yeah, don't try to fool anybody. It's not going to work.
Right.
And I think the evaluation tools are probably going to get a lot better as things advance as well.
Yeah, I believe so.
Interesting. All right. Well, man, thanks for sharing your insight. I appreciate you doing this.
For sure.
Was it fun?
Yeah, I had fun.
Good. All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Digital Ministry Podcast. Catch us again on the next episode. And subscribe, comment. I would love to hear comments if anybody has them. If you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comment. Spotify, all the places have the same thing. And you're making me think maybe we should hire some bot farms to do all these likes and comments and subscriptions and generate some more cash flow for MII.
Are you even real? Are you actually listening to this, or are you a bot farm?
This whole podcast is real, or is it?
Are we real?
Or are we?